October 20th edition of NBA Tournament Plays. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as usual, we're going to take a look at 3 of the top tournament plays using the Boom Bust tool on the Stokastic.com website for tonight's 2-game NBA slate. But first, we do have our best NBA offer of the season right out of the gate. Use promo code HARDWOOD. You get 10 days of Stokastic Plus Platinum for just $10. This will give you access to all of our behind-the-paywall stuff, including our new lineup generator, which helps you to create lineups that are good for any NBA contest, depending on what you're trying to play. You can build lineups for it using our lineup generator. So get access to that and everything else for just $10 for 10 days using promo code HARDWOOD. Now, taking a look at the top 3 tournament plays using the Boom Bust tool on the Stokastic.com website. Number 3, Patrick Beverley. He's projected for 39% ownership with a 45% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Beverley is just $4,100 with point guard and shooting guard eligibility. Beverley played between 24 and 25 minutes in the Lakers opener, but he was in foul trouble. In games where he's not in foul trouble, you can expect him to approach 30 minutes. Last year as a starter, he averaged about 28 minutes per game with Minnesota. I expect similar playing time from Beverley here because it really just depends on if he gets in foul trouble or not. He frequently is in foul trouble. That's just his style of play, but he's cheap enough that that's not a huge concern. We currently have him projected for 22.8 DraftKings points. In the preseason, he averaged 0.92 DraftKings points per minute with the Lakers. Last year, in the games where he played with all of Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and D'Angelo Russell healthy, he averaged 0.88 DraftKings points per minute. We can expect him to be around 0.9 fantasy points per minute at only $4,100 with the potential to approach 30 minutes if he can avoid foul trouble. Number 2, sticking with the Lakers, LeBron James is $9,300 with small forward and power forward eligibility. James is projected for 50.5 DraftKings points, 48% ownership, and a 49% chance of being in the optimal lineup. James averaged 1.36 DraftKings points per minute in the games that he played with both Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis healthy last year, and he played about 35 minutes in the Lakers opener. There was also room for him to play a couple more minutes had that game come down to the wire, so we know that he's able to play full minutes right out of the gate. And number 1, Tobias Harris, projected for 42% ownership with a 52% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He's just $5,500 on DraftKings with small forward and power forward eligibility. Harris did only average 0.84 DraftKings points per minute in the 22 regular season games that he played with James Harden and Joel Embiid, both active last year. But at only $5,500, it doesn't take that much to pay off that salary. He played a little over 34 minutes in the opener. I expect similar playing time from him tonight. And we could also see a slight boost in production because of the way Milwaukee plays defensively under Mike Budenholzer. Typically, you're just going to get open looks for wing shooters like Tobias Harris. They're going to look to take away other guys like James Harden and Joel Embiid. So
hot.
potentially more open
the
looks
NBA season.
well at
Man, did you guys just miss hearing some action?
Good Lord.
That would have been good to get out over the airwaves.
That would have been.
What's happening, Stokastic basketball fans? Welcome to the No House Advantage NBA show. My name is Terry McBride. I am here with my pal Gundacker. We're here to talk through the 2-game NBA slate for No House Advantage for NHA. I'm going to just say, Gun, how you doing today, pal? My head's a little bit full of cold medicine and allergy medicine. I've been sniffling and sneezing all day, so I'm out of it. How you doing?
I'm good. It's cold, right. Cooler temps down here, and I'm hoping to steal a win tonight in the baseball side of things, but a little bit interested in talking some NHA here. I'm newer to the site, and I'm sharing the sentiments that our buddy Dexter Pope in chat said. Can't believe NHA gives away free squares for guys out of the lineup. Neither can I. I'm not used to this. So like, I'm looking through, I was like, wait, we can actually do this? So I'm kind of excited to get some action over here.
Yeah, a lot of fun over on NHA, and we've got multiple kinds of contests over there. So it's important to talk through at the beginning. You know, we've got the Versus the House contest. It's kind of, I guess, their newer offering where you're playing against them. You're not playing against a bunch of, other lineups. You're not playing up against a bunch of sharps like Alex and Adam and people like that. It's just directly against the house, and you can net up to 20x on your card. If you hit all your picks correctly, you can get one wrong. Just like we've seen in similar contests at other places. So NHA is offering that now, and they're offering talking the traditional no house advantage, the big tournaments with the large prize pools, win up to 150K up top, build out a bunch of lineups. We've got free projections for that over at the site. We've got free lineup builds over at the site. So we're just kind of loaded up for everybody to succeed on NHA. And the fact that we're loaded up with all that stuff and they give you those squares where it's just like, all right, this guy's priced as though he's going to play 36 minutes tonight and he's playing 10. So that line is just a lock to go. I mean, there are some easy pickings in some of these. So encourage everybody to go check it out. But how's your NBA season going so far? First couple of days, kind of. Did you get off to a good start?
No. Last night.
Okay.
I mean, hey, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Last night, basically every stand I took was the wrong side of the stand. But it's also like, when you're in the middle of a season, I don't overreact to the results of a massive 12 gamer or a 2 gamer. So I'm waiting for the wheelhouse slates, the 6 to 8s. But it's just like like looking at some of the results last night, you know, DeRozan without Levine and Lonzo being a smash play. I'm like, well, I was an idiot. The rookies, right? You first round draft picks are out here at 10% or less.
3 of them in the FanDuel winning lineup.
Yeah, and I'm just like, why was I so light on this guy? So maybe some process errors, but I just think it's the overwhelming nature of a 12 gamer. So I'm not going to overreact to the results, but man, there were like literal stands that I justified with like reasoning, like DeRozan against a defense that just didn't go my way. So hopefully we get our sea legs under us real soon.
Yeah, and I'm with you. I'm looking forward to that first, 6-8 gamer to really get a good feel for the season and really get into it and everything. But hey, day 2 of the NBA season, so why wouldn't the ball boys already be a storyline? I mean, for God's sake, knocking Miles Turner out of the game. I had a fair amount of Turner in my lineups when that happened, so I had to pivot on the fly, and that was fun and trying to get to some of those replacements and everything. But hey, it was good to jump right back into the fire and instead of getting like a casual intro to it. So we'll talk through today. Like we said, we've got 2 games, so we kind of a little bit easier pace. We've got the Lakers and the Clippers. We've got the Bucks and the 76ers. I almost call them the Brewers, still in a little bit of baseball mode here. Any overarching thoughts before we dive into like game by games and get into these specific player props here, Gun?
Well, I mean, for 2 of these teams, it's their second game. So we at least have a little first game data in terms of minute rotations and what maybe the coaches were thinking. So that's a fun point of reference. Nights like last night, we didn't have that. We are kind of guessing on minute rotations and bench rolls. So a little bit more data to go off of. And I think that's going to lead us into a couple of these bench players that maybe are misprojected by NHA and their static numbers versus the information we have now. So that's a plus. And then otherwise, we should have some usage boost. Giannis with no Middleton is an interesting, and not that he needs somebody out to have even more usage, but without Middleton, that's even better. And then we had a floating piece of news earlier that Kawhi Leonard could come off the bench in a limited role to start the season, and that could certainly shake up what projections might have been like last night, or even expectations last night. So you had 2 game slates, not without news.
Yep, absolutely. And the guys on the strategy show did a good job of breaking down, what we might expect from that Clippers rotation, but we're kind of guessing, especially with that news in the mix. Who really knows what's going to be there? So we'll go through the full slate, the 2 games, and we'll take a look at some interesting spots in NHA for some of these player props and some easy ones to pick off at the top of a confidence card. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. We appreciate it. Not sure if there's any free stuff over at the site. We've talked a little bit about No House, and we'll go through the whole promo read here in a little bit. But I do want to highlight for you guys just real quick. First off, what we're doing is we're looking to put together 5 player props on the over-unders on these individual player choices. And we've got them from NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, MMA, NASCAR. There's stuff all over the place. So you can play whatever you're an expert in. We've got projections for everything, like I was saying. We've got a link in the description below, and there's a first match deposit bonus for up to $50. That's what I really wanted to highlight. So use that link if you're signing up over at No House Advantage. Make sure you're taking advantage of the $50 the deposit match there. And again, free projections up at the site, free optimal lineup builds up at the site as well. So Gun, let's dive in. Typically on this show in the past, we've gone a little bit game by game so that we can go through like each team in terms of the top overall potential props. So why don't we do that? And we'll start off with the Bucks side of this one. And just taking a look, are there any props that really stand out to you from the Bucks side, be it on the overs or the unders? I always like to look at the overs just because they're more fun, but we tend to get bigger numbers on a lot of the unders because it seems like NHA, it's typically a lot of this is driven just by minutes expectation, where a guy's projected for, their line is against 24 minutes and we're projecting a guy for 10 minutes. So the unders typically pop. But anything you're seeing on either side of this one?
Yeah, starting with the Sixers side. So as a point of reference to teams that we have at least one game of data from, Montrezl Harrell, PRA, they have them at 16.5. Our Stokastic projections 8.5, which is, an incredible discount. And then looking at the minute rotation from that Celtics Sixers game, Montrezl Harrell only touched the court opposite of Embiid, and Embiid played a lot of minutes, 37 minutes. And that's probably not something I expected from Embiid on night one, but that's what we got. And this is just a 4-point spread. So that's kind of suggesting it's going to be another close game. And if it's going to be a close game, why wouldn't I expect similar minutes for Embiid? So that brings a minute projection for Montrezl Harrell to be really, really low. And that under on 16.5 PRA is probably something I would add to my cards rather confidently.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with you on that one. And Montrezl Harrell sitting at the top of the board. If we sort by the under for Philly here, in all five of his props are the top of the board basically, but the PRA is sitting at an even 100%. Emac and I were laughing at that the other day. We might want to start considering calling it like 99.9 maybe, but that one is pretty much a lock. He would have to play to get to that 16.5. He'd basically have to double up his minutes projection, probably 22, 24, something like that. We're projecting him for 10.8, basically the 11 minutes he's got the other day is the direct backup. And it's not like if Embiid doesn't play the full amount, they're definitely going to Harrell here either. Like it's not that he's definitely going to be the direct recipient of all those backup minutes. There are other guys in that mix. It depends on what kind of lineup they want to put on the floor. So I think, yeah, starting with the PRA, but on down through the points plus assists, the points plus rebounds alone, any one of those, or if you're making a bunch of lineups, a mix of those, from lineup to lineup is a great way to start out any card at the top of your confidence ratings. What about the Anthony Melton? His PRA looks pretty juicy as well. If we're sorting by the probability, sitting at a 90%, 16.5 on the PRA versus we've got him projected for 12.4.
Yeah, I mean, those are just insane odds that we're getting here. I'm so used to looking at 60% probabilities as a good play, and we're working with 90s and 100s. It doesn't feel real, but I'm in agreement there. I don't know if their projection model is going off of Memphis Melton, but from the data from game one, Melton was just 20 minutes of action, and it was a lot of it was on the court with guys like James Harden. So overlapping there where you expect even less implied usage. And that just is not good for him. If you're going to share the court with Embiid and Harden, I don't have a lot of faith in your PRA upside. Like, I don't think he's going to take over this game. So I think that's another incredible opportunity there.
Yeah, absolutely. Just anytime we're seeing those 90 plus ones at the top of the card, I was saying it to Emac the other day, you can kind of treat like a couple of those just like a cash game, just put them in, you use them, you take the safety. And then as you get down toward your bottom of your card, maybe you can mix and match if you're playing in that large field tournament where you can get into some of these other ones. So maybe a couple like Joel Embiid on the rebounds prop or James Harden on the rebounds prop, both lower down the board, but both, star caliber players going to get a full complement of minutes here, and 83% probabilities on both of them to go over. Embiid an 11.5 rebound prop, Harden a 6.5. We've got them both well over that. So what do you think of those two?
Of the Embiid and Harden rebounds?
Yeah.
I think this Milwaukee team going to be up in pace typically, and that's going to be a lot of extra implied possessions, and it's 83% probability of success for Embiid, and you mentioned the similar for James Harden. So I like that as well. And yeah, probably a little less trendy than some of these aforementioned picks. So yeah, get a little bit more unique at the bottom. So I'm in full agreement.
Yeah, those are ones that we can work in. And so since we're only using, we can only use Montrezl Harrell once. So you go Harrell, Melton is two of the top confidence picks, maybe one of these other ones from one of the other teams. And then you can work these guys back in toward the bottom of the card as variables, ones that'll shake up your commonality with other people's entries. So I think those are the interesting ones from the Philly side. There's some 70 percenters, mostly on the unders, that are fine as well. 70%, 79%, like Tobias Harris under assists. We've got him projected at 2.08. The line's 3.5. Seems fairly likely, but with more secure ones on the board, you don't even really need to chase the 80 percenters or the below 80 percenters. So let's jump over to Milwaukee. Obviously a team with one big superstar, but you mentioned, definitely missing a couple pieces here. It doesn't really make anything pop though. Oddly, nobody is like, usually you see somebody benefiting from a misprojection on minutes or whatever and really exploding to the top. Highest on the board is 77%, and that's for Grayson Allen, who I do think for DFS purposes is very interesting tonight and likely to benefit here. But are you seeing anything that I'm not seeing from the Buck side of things, or is any of these really standing out for you?
No, I mean, nothing to have the same high level of confidence as we do elsewhere. Even Grayson Allen, like I know that's our top play here on the overside. Yeah. But this is still a team that has two high usage guys that will be on the court, Drew Holiday and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this is also a team that we've seen really play with 2 of 3 a lot in the last 2 seasons, and we see varying results here. So I just think on this slate, I'm more likely to lean on the 90% or pluses and not have to dabble too much with the Bucks. I think the Bucks might be my least exposed picks on the slate as far as a team goes.
Yeah, I think it makes total sense. These are ones, with the best one being in the high 70s. It's one you can save for the back end of a card. If you're building out a lot of lineups, then maybe you start looking at Grayson Allen in the high 70s there. Maybe a Wesley Matthews under on the 3-pointers made. But yeah, not a lot to really pick from on the Bucks side of things. So we'll take a look at the other game. And let me just do a quick talk about No House Advantage again one more time, guys. They're bringing the most dynamic fantasy sports platform available. It's really fun. It's a great way to get in on player props. If you can't bet in your state, you might be able to play over on No House. So check them out. It's really fun. It's a great way to play. You can play versus the field, a bunch of contests with large field tournaments, winning up to $150,000 in cash if you beat everybody out there. But in those, you're playing against experts. You're playing against guys like Alex, entering a ton of lineups. You can enter a ton of lineups too. You can use the free projections on our site, the free optimal lineup builds over on our site. But they also have the other way to play. You can test your skills versus the house and just win up to 20 times your entry fee if you hit all your picks on your 5-entry card. So it's not a bad way to play either one of those types of entries, or better yet, enter both ways. Clean up. So they've got 5-player prop over-unders for individual player matchups across every major sports league: NFL, MLB, NBA, PGA, MMA, NASCAR. Like I said, they've got everything over there. We've got a free NFL lineup generator and projections for NHA, which you can find in the video description down there below. And like I said before, a first match deposit bonus up to $50. They're going to give you $50 to go play over there. You can roll that up. I promise you're going to do well over there. And guess what? There's also overlay in a lot of these contests. So you're getting the top picks for free. You're getting a $50 match. You're getting overlay. What are you guys waiting for? Get over there and sign up at No House Advantage. I'm talking myself into it. I might have to move so that I can play at No House Advantage, because this is a great offer. It's a great site. It's a lot of fun to play on. Let's jump over to the other game. Battle of Los Angeles. We've got can't do it that way. I got to select all the teams again here. We got the Clippers at the Lakers. What are we seeing in this one, Gun? Any top line thoughts here outside of the fact that we've got a couple other 100%ers and 99.9%ers?
Yeah, I mean, that's what stood out the most is the fact that we have 100%ers. And I was looking at Damian Jones. I think overall though, 5.5 point spread in favor of the Clippers here. Rough for the Lakers to start this season with opening night, and then this coming in as 5-point dog. So looking at the Clippers, Damian Jones was one of the 100%ers. I mean, looking at the Lakers, Damian Jones was one of the 100%ers. And again, referencing the fact that we actually have a little bit of data from the Lakers looking at their opening night. Damian Jones, can you guess how many minutes he played on opening night?
Was it none?
It was none. He was.
That's what I thought, because it's entirely blank on my screen. I was like, I know I loaded that up.
Yeah, a big fat 0. Now, I don't know if you take an L and you wonder how you get different here, but with Anthony Davis likely their starting center for the foreseeable future, even if Damian Jones was afforded a couple minutes here, it would just be a guess and a hope at this point. So I just think we have to lean on what we have, and that's the fact that there's a good chance Damian Jones does not play tonight. So any projection is liable to make me like the under, but especially what they got today. And if you look at the PRA, they're at 13.5, and there's a good chance he gets 0.
Yeah, pretty big for a guy that's even if he does hit the court, we're expecting, we've got him projected at 6 minutes, kind of a placeholder. Hey, this guy might get 1-2 rotations, one in the first half, one in the second half, couple of minutes just to spell somebody and spell AD real quick. But even with that 6 minute projection, we've got him at a 4.3, and that almost feels a little generous right now.
Yeah.
So I definitely see that one trending under, even if it's not 100% mathematically. I mean, that is a solid stone cold lock. It looks like Nick Batum also sitting up toward the top of the board with a couple 100%ers, and similar token, they've got him at an 8.5 on the points plus assists. We've got him projected to play 4.3 minutes. So that seems a little bit too much to ask for him to collect that. 13.5 on the PRA for him as well. So that's another one that looks like pretty much a lock. You seeing Batum the same way?
Yeah, Nick Batum usually a space filler in terms of the stat sheet, unless there's a lot of outs. And we've seen the Clippers deal with a lot of outs last season, but tonight they're probably never going to be as healthy as they are tonight. And if we have Reggie Jackson, Paul George, Kawhi, John Wall, Norman Powell, there's a lot of other guys that will probably fill the stat sheet and give us a little bit more leeway on a guy like Nick Batum. So I'm with you on Batum's unders. I throw a blanket on the under of 13.5, another 100%er, and I feel happy about it.
Yep, absolutely. I think it makes a lot of sense. And, even if we have the idea of, hey, Kawhi limited off the bench, maybe Batum, a veteran guy who is a capable NBA body, maybe he picks up a few extra minutes than the 4.3 that we're projecting him for. But again, against a 13.5 PRA, his per 36 PRA last year was 20.9 in a 36-minute sense. So, I mean, we would need him to get out there and play 20 and change minutes to get to that 13.5 or, thereabouts. So I just think that's completely safe, even if he picks up an extra rotation or two. Like, I'm really not worried. Do you see any avenue to where Batum sees enough minutes to knock that thing down in your confidence?
I mean, unless unforeseen injuries, but like you said, even if he played 25, 30 minutes, I wouldn't think that that's a deadline just because of how not involved he can be.
Yeah, you're still live there. Looking down the list, we're going to have to just stay here and ride some of these unders. There are a couple overs that we'll jump to in just a second. We've got a couple minutes here. But up at the top of the board, the other Batums are all still live. The Damian Jones is live. And then the Robert Covington one, we slide all the way down to a 98.6% probability. I think that's a perfect human temperature, right? Isn't that, are we all 98.6? Isn't that like even you don't have the fever? I think so.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the most interesting thing I could think of about that line. But he's projected out for a 9.88 PRA against a 15.5 line. We've got him projected. There is a reasonable expectation of minutes. We've got him projected for about 17.5 minutes. What do you see for Covington here? Do you think that's a sharp enough line to also include at a high confidence?
Yeah, 98.6 is a great number. And again, Covington, not as I would say irrelevant on the court as a guy like Nick Batum can be. He can be scrappy, but it's more like the defensive stats, the blocks and the steals and the rebounds. I don't really expect him to load up on assists and points here. So I'm fine with taking the under at 15.5.
Yep. It looks like another easy spot to attack. And I mean, there's just a bunch of these sitting here. So if you guys are checking out the projections over at the site, just take a look, sort it by these over and under probabilities. And that's the easiest way to go about it. If you're not looking directly at the lineup, Mike's showing it on the screen right now. Great production job by our pal, Mikey Lawrence, behind the virtual glass there. And that's how you got to go about it. Just sort it by those over under probabilities and start looking at some of these. I mean, you've got, Austin Reeves on the under 86% on his points plus assists, Norm Powell on his points plus assists, 89%, or Reggie Jackson, who you mentioned, you're going to be seeing minutes, 25-minute projection, but a 24.5 PRA is a lot to ask from Reggie Jackson in this game. 18.7 is where we've got him projected. Another one that's coming in at 90% probable. So you can build a card of all 90% probability picks on this slate. Do you see like any need to, outside of, weaving it in for many, many lineup builds, if you were building one entry, would you even drop down below 90%? I don't think we even need to, right? Outside of the idea that you're probably going to be duped.
Yeah. No, I think it's just too EV to get too creative or contrarian. But when you get to like, if there was a card full of 60s or whatever, yeah, you could be a little more contrarian just to be unique. But man, it's hard to expect a super unique lineup to rise to the top versus what's on the board.
Yeah, and it's not as easy in DFS where it's like, all right, this guy is in a reasonable approximation of that guy's spot. He could easily replicate that guy's production, outproduce him, whatever. Some of the, just mathematically, a 75% chance is a lot different than a 100% chance or a 99.9% chance. So yeah, just mathematically, it makes sense. And you do see, sometimes on days like this, you do see, some experts building trains and, just trying to lock in those easy plus EV spots. Looking at the overs, just because overs are fun real quick, and we can at least talk about some of the star players in this game instead of some of the irrelevant guys. With a couple minutes remaining here, LeBron James on the rebounding prop, 8.5 line. We've got him projected out well above that at 10.4. That's an 80%. What do you think of LeBron on the rebounding? And any thoughts about Russ Westbrook or AD as far as rebounding goes? Where do you think the ball's going in terms of rebounds for the Lakers today, I guess is what I'm asking.
LeBron was pretty aggressive with the rebounds in game one. But I will say that there's a little bit more size and length on the Clippers front court versus the Warriors. It feels like the Morrises, the Zubaks, maybe not as much, but he did muscle down. He was in the double digits in rebounds in that opening night here. So he's looking to make an impact. And certainly as a 5-point dog here, there might be more sense of urgency to up the pace later on and get those. I expect double digits. So I think 8.5 is a really low line that I'm fine with taking the over on.
Yeah, seems soft. Seems like a good spot to attack. So let's see. And just for our pal Eitan Shander, since he loves the threes, what about Paul George? 2.5 line. Our projection is 3. It's one of the thinner ones we've talked about, only a 65%er. But just since Eitan always loved to bring those up on this show for him, what do you think of the Paul George over under for 3 points, 3-pointers made at 2.5?
Yeah, 2.5 is a really low number. He's probably going to chuck 5 or 6 of them, especially if we expect less Kawhi overlap, at least to start with. I think that's a super solid line to get behind. And if he shares more court time with a guy like John Wall, facilitate a little bit more, maybe set him up for those shots. Yep. Yeah, I like that.
Yep, makes sense. And you mentioned John Wall. Is there anything on the board? I don't remember even seeing him on this board. Yeah, they might not have any props up for Johnny Wall because not entirely sure what he's going to be doing out there. It doesn't look like so. That is one wrinkle in the rotation over there and among a bunch of them. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Make sure you guys are tuning in. That brings us to the end of the show, by the way, as I'm transitioning right into the plug for the upcoming shows. Make sure you guys are tuning in to catch all that news about these rotations for the shows later on in the day. We've got NBA Deeper Dive coming up at 5:30. That's going to be with Ryan and Adam. And then 6:30 to 7:30, we've got Live Before Lock for the NBA with Greg and Eric. And 7 to 8:15, we've also got NFL Showdown Live Before Lock with Lofty, Neil Orfield, and Matt Savoca. So that's going to be some pretty killer content. Make sure you guys are checking out also the Hardwood promo. That's $10 for 10 days of our Stokastic Plus Platinum plan. Gets you great access to every single sport that we cover, including NBA, and behind the scenes for all of this stuff for No House Advantage, for all of the sites that you'll have to play on for DFS purposes. Great stuff. We've also got the lineup generator over at the site. Perfect tool for building winning lineups for any NBA DFS contest. So make sure you guys are checking that out too. Gun, tell the people where they can find you.
Twitter, YouTube /Gundacker.
There you go. That's been Gundacker. I've been Terry McBride, Mike Lawrence behind the scenes. We appreciate everybody hanging out. Good luck tonight.